Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where you as AACH members will learn about DocCom. My name is Rachel Porch, and I'm the project coordinator here at AACH, and I just wanted to extend a thank you for joining us to learn about this great free online learning resource for AACH associate and professional members. I will be fielding questions throughout the presentation, and since you, our participants, don't have a vocal voice, we invite you to type your questions and comments in the chat box that's located on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So with that, I would first like to practice using the chat box and have you all answer the question here on the screen. Have you used DocCom? We'll give you all a moment to type in there. Okay, I see little to no use. Some have, some are familiar. Well, that's great because you guys will learn all about it today. So just a reminder, if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to type them in there. And if they're quick questions, I'll be quick to answer. And then I can also ask Barbara Lewis as we go throughout the presentation any questions you may have. So moving forward, I am very pleased to begin my handover here to Barbara Lewis with a short introduction. Barbara Lewis began her career as a journalist, writing for the Wall Street Journal and other national publications. For 2 decades, she had a successful marketing consulting company when her life was turned upside down. Barbara spent 2 weeks in the ICU with her younger sister who tragically passed away. She then decided to devote the rest of her life to improving the patient experience and received a grant to study innovative courses taught in medical schools. Her research led her to Drexel University College of Medicine, a DocCom co-founder. After interviewing DocCom editors for her grant report, she found that the tables were turned and they began asking her questions. So at the end of the conversation, they had asked if she would submit her resume. And for the past 3 years, Barbara has been the managing editor of DocCom. So thank you, Barbara, for your time today. And I would now like to pass the presentation over to you.
Thank you, Rachel, for that introduction. I really appreciate it. And thank you for everyone online here who's watching this. I attended Enrich back in June, and you may want to just put in the chat box whether or not you were also at Enrich. And it was a wonderful session, and it was in a great venue, brand new at UCLA. It was out here in LA, which is where I'm located. And I was talking to a number of people who were attending and asking them if they had used DocCom, if they knew about DocCom. And I was really surprised to find that a number of AACH members were not that familiar with DocCom at all, and you get a free subscription to DocCom if you're a member. So I thought, well, maybe we should just have a little tutorial and an introductory webinar on what DocCom is all about. So DocCom is a proven, and I'm going to talk about that in a little while, online interactive healthcare communication learning system for the acquisition of knowledge, skills, and attitudes regarding medical interviewing. As Rachel mentioned, DocCom was co-founded with AACH and Drexel in 2003. And that was as a result of what's known as the Kalamazoo Consensus Statement. And about a couple of dozen people got together in Kalamazoo, and if any of you were there, please write in the chat box that you were there. But got together and looked at what was being taught in medical schools and identified the lack of communication skills. And so Drexel and AACH teamed up to offer and to build DocCom. We obtained a grant through the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations, and it was launched in 2005 as a pilot. We became a nonprofit the following year, and we have offered continuing medical education since 2015, and all of you, of course, can be getting CME as well. So currently we have about 90 institutional subscribers, and I'm going to go into that in just a while. 6 journal articles have studied DocCom and discussed the value of DocCom. We're in currently 14 countries, and we've been translated into 3 languages with Spanish coming soon. So here are the articles, the journal articles that have been written up about studies that have been done on DocCom. And you can find this on our website if you're interested in taking a look at these studies. So I don't need to tell you all about the importance of communication skills, but just a quick review. Of course, good communication skills improve medical outcomes. They decrease malpractice claims. It enhances physician and provider satisfaction. And of course, what we're finding lately is that from the AACH surveys mandated by the government if a hospital receives Medicare funds, and almost every hospital does, that these scores, the 2 communication dimensions in these surveys drive the overall scores. And these surveys are tied to money. And I was just talking to a hospital the other day, and she was telling me that they left $1 million on the table because of their low HCAP scores. And that's a chunk of change no matter how big you are. So as you know, communication skills are very important. We have 42 modules, and they were done by leading authors, leading faculty. We have over 400 very realistic videos that are unscripted. And as I do surveys, I found over and over again that the videos are what people love. And I just got back a survey from residents at New York Presbyterian yesterday. And again, the same thing, they love the videos. We have annotated interactive videos, which I'll talk about in just a while. And then we have this whole back end for faculty. So you can use it as a learning management system, and DocCom comes with assignments, assessment questions, essay questions, a grading matrix, tons of resources, and curriculum guides for faculty. So I'm giving this webinar to find out if you're interested in it for yourself individually, but also if you're affiliated with a medical school, a residency program, a hospital, or a PA program. Or this is how our subscription right now is segmented. Originally, we started, of course, 100% were schools of medicine in 2005 when we first started. But now our fastest growing area is residency programs and medical centers. And I think that's because of the fact that we have these HCAP surveys now that are tied to money. But a lot of medical schools subscribe so that students can prepare for their USMLE Step 2 CS. And we have talked to subscribers who say that their student scores are higher watching DocCom and using DocCom than not using it. So I encourage you to think about this not only for your own use, but also for any institution with which you may be affiliated. We have a ton of testimonials, and you can go through that on our website, from medical schools to physicians to residency programs to PA programs. So DocCom is essentially a flipped classroom, and it's somewhat based on Khan Academy, although I think we started before Khan Academy did. But if you're familiar with that, that's where Khan was teaching his niece mathematics, and soon all of her cousins came, and he was they were not located close together, so he was doing it virtually on the internet. And then he had a bunch of cousins, and it just got a little unwieldy, so he decided to put it up on the internet as tutorials for students. And one day he got a call, and the person said, this is Bill Gates, and of course he didn't believe that Bill Gates was calling him. But what had happened is that Gates walked into his children's room where they were doing their homework, and he asked them about what they were doing, and they said they were on Khan Academy learning some skills. And so that's why he called, and now they have a partnership, and you're probably familiar with them. But anyway, we have this flipped classroom where the modules are assigned outside of the classroom, if it's a medical school, for example. And I'm going to give an example of a residency program also that's quite innovative in what we've been doing lately. And then the students come in and in small discussions talk about the videos. One institution that we have actually videotapes the students doing a certain module, for example, delivering bad news, and they have an OSCE awards, a red carpet, where they show the videos from all the small discussions and then award a winner. And the students get into it, and the comments that have come from that particular exercise are unbelievable. I learned more from this than anything we've done in medical school, et cetera. And they had a lot of fun doing it too. So we start off with the basic modules, and this includes balance and self-care and mindfulness and reflection, therapeutic aspects of medical encounters. Of course, mindfulness and balance and self-care are very important. We have a couple of webinars on those as well, if you can go on our website and watch that. And then we get into the essential elements. And modules 5 through 12 are the most closely aligned with the HCAP surveys. So this is all about getting the information, opening the discussion, gathering the information, talking to the patient, with tons of videos modeling how to do this properly. And then we have advanced elements. We just had a webinar on responding to strong emotions, which was by an oncologist at the Cleveland Clinic, Tim Gilligan, and he was talking about, of course, a huge amount of times that he has had to deliver bad news and have strong emotions as a result, and what he does and how he coaches physicians also. And he's a co-author on that one. Lately, actually, he just revised it. And we have other ones such as shared decision-making. So we redo or revise about 1/3 of our modules every year to keep them up to date and to make sure that the literature references are current. So currently, we're actually revising 18 modules this year. And then we get into communicating with colleagues, and this is the oral presentation and talking to impaired physicians, and a couple of others. The modules are very consistent. We start with a rationale and get into key concepts, learning goals, a lot of content, and then videos interspersed. And finally, we have a behavioral checklist. So we start off with the patient's view of what she's here for the appointment for, what she hopes to accomplish. And then we go to the doctor's view, and he talks about what's going on in his mind and what he hopes to accomplish in the appointment. There are questions for reflection, which are oftentimes used in the small class discussions. We have key principles, and this is probably an eye test, right, and learning goals. And then, of course, all the content. So there's a lot of literature references, and when we go through the revisions, of course, we look for the latest research. So we're not just saying that we think that you should do this because we think it's correct, but here's what the leading researchers say who are experts in this area. Here's what they say that you should do for delivering bad news, for example, or responding to strong emotions. We have a lot of videos. So here is the annotated video example. And you can see here that as you're going down through each of these different ways of speaking or different areas, greeting, the naming, legitimatizing the emotion, reflection, etc., it is highlighted so that the viewer can see exactly what is happening in the conversation, and especially if it's a particular technique that's used. And then if you click on the little icon to the left of the words that looks like a movie camera, out pops the clinician or the patient. In this case, the clinician is speaking directly to the learner and talking about what's going on in the back of his mind and why he's pursuing this line of questioning or discussion or whatever the case may be. And our users just love this. In Module 6, which is building the relationship, we have this empathy understanding test where the learner goes through and clicks on the bottom here across this pink bar, the blue bar that you see in the bottom, and clicks where an empathic comment should have been made. So you see that there have been 4 clicks so far, and then over here to the right you can see 100% or 67% on what the correct answers are. So I've taken this several times, and each time I'm better at recognizing where an empathic comment should be made. So my understanding from faculty is that the learners don't think, and even physicians, hopefully they're still learning, that they think that saying an empathic comment will open up Pandora's box, and there'll be a lot more that will be said, and it will take too long, and the interview will be extended. And actually just the opposite is true. And research shows that the interview concludes faster when the clinician makes an empathic comment, because what happens is that the patient wants to keep saying something that will get that empathic comment, that will get a response. And you probably all know this, but I just wanted to point this out, that I think this is a fantastic tool to use for learners. And of course, DocCom is used in remediation a lot, not only with residents, but also with physicians as well. So Rachel, I just lost the slides. I'm not sure if that was my end or what I did.
No, one moment, I'll get them back.
Okay, and the next slide and here we are, is facial recognition. Thank you, Rachel, that was fast. So as the learner sees the face here, they click on the color. Is this an angry person, confused, withdrawing, fear? And then it gets faster and faster, and until it's like a microsecond, and helping the learner to identify a flash of emotion that may occur. We went out to 5 real-life substance abusers, one of whom is a physician, and asked them over 20 questions. And the purpose of this was to help learners understand that, to have some sympathy for the substance abuser, and to understand how they got started and why it was hard to quit and how many times they had quit and everything, so that we just don't approach substance abusers with just get off of it, give it up, and understand really what's going on in their lives and how they got this way. We have a behavioral checklist. This is for Module 33 in delivering bad news, which I can just share with you that when I was told that my sister was going to die and didn't have very long to live, hours, that it was not delivered in a way that I thought was appropriate. And of course they say that you remember how bad news was delivered to you for the rest of your life. So we have these checklists where somebody can just bring up on their phone before they walk into a meeting with a family or a patient and say, okay, here are the 15 things that I need to do before I deliver bad news. And I think these checklists are just great. We've actually changed this from bullets to numbers now, so that if you've done number 5, you know the next one you have to go to is number 6. So let me talk a little bit about the features that we have, and this is just for the faculty. And I won't spend too much time on this because you may or may not be using this with others, but we start at number 1, where you're going to add an assignment. You click on the button on your computer while you're in the program. Then number 2, you select who you want to receive it. Number 3 is you create the assignment. 4 is you have the start date, the end date, the instructions, who it's going to. And then 5, it pops up on the user's computer and tells them they have an assignment. So we have assessment questions that are multiple choice, and we also have essay questions as well. And then we have this whole grading, where you can look at grading by module, by person. You can give them an essay assignment and then put the feedback in here, score them, and then send them your comments. On the left side here are the names of the learners, and across the top are modules 1 through 42. And here are the grades, and I love this when I taught business communication at UCLA Anderson School of Business. And I had this unwieldy Excel sheet that was really hard to manage. This automatically puts in colors and gradations as to high green, which is 100, and low 20, which is red. I love that. And also the same colors are used here. These are individuals and their scores on the multiple choice questions on the video, which we're calling comprehensive scores. And we have a ton of faculty resources. We have a facilitation guide that goes through 12 of the modules. They're 1-hour learning sessions. We have a syllabi of over 107 pages that goes through an entire course for first-year medical students. And we also have an administrative guide, which if you're signing up for an institution, then the administrator gets this guide on how to work the back end and how everything happens. I just wanted to briefly go through a recent study that we did with a residency program, and I think that DocCom is fantastic for residency programs, and I wish every resident had access to DocCom. The Greater Baltimore Medical Center told us their story, and here's a little background. They have over 20,000 inpatient cases, 52,000 emergency room visits, 245 beds, and 45 internal medicine residents. So they had the June orientation for their residents that they brought in, and at this point they assessed their skills and remediated them in the EPAs. But the one that they found that was not very good and didn't generally score high was the H&P. So what they decided to do, what they noticed actually, was that the residents knew what to ask. They knew the questions that they were supposed to ask, but they didn't know how to ask them. So the program director searched around for some way to teach the residents how to ask questions, something that they could see and mimic. So they came across DocCom, which they felt was easy access, anywhere, anytime, online. So initially they made the assignment at orientation. You know, you're going to look at these are 17 modules that we want you to use right at orientation. But the next year, they decided to make the assignment after the match in March and before orientation. So the theory of the program director was that learners have the time during after the match and before orientation, and they really want to impress him. So he thought that they're going to watch the videos, that they're going to read the material, whereas he had a hard time for the residents completing these modules that he assigned during orientation. There was just too much. What he noticed the second year when he assigned it after the match was that the residents, incoming interns actually, had better communication skills. He just thought this cohort are better communicators than the last cohort, with DocCom being assigned before orientation. So the following year, what he wanted to do was to test his theory, and that's when we teamed up with him. So we gave 2 tests. One was the empathy understanding test that I had just showed you in Module 6, where the empathic comment is made. And the other ones were selected multiple choice questions from modules most closely aligned with HCAHPS, the patient satisfaction surveys, and that's 5 to 13. So we sent the directions and the introduction, and we sent out this test before they started, and we had no mention of DocCom. And then we sent it right before orientation again. And what he noticed when they came in was that there were far fewer remediation candidates in the third year. There was a great improvement in the scores between before DocCom and after DocCom. And, you know, this is not a statistical sample, and we didn't have a control group and all the other things, but, you know, the tests were better, and we're hoping that the empathy understanding was therefore better. But before DocCom, the scores were only 41% of clicking when an empathic comment should be made. And after .com, it was nearly 100% at 96%, and I think that's pretty impressive. And he's noticing, of course, anecdotally, that his residents are better communicators. So then we did a delta between the two, before and after, and it went from a high of 75% as a delta before .com and after .com, down to only 9 or 7 as a delta. But the reason those are so low is because they initially scored high to begin with. And you can see here there were only 10 residents that completed the after, which was, in this case, was given after orientation, and we recommend now that the after is taken right before orientation when they still have enough time to do this, because there were 40 residents interns initially here. So just a little bit about our subscription. If you know somebody who might want to subscribe, we've been called dirt cheap. And our group subscriptions, which are for hospitals, healthcare systems, including residents, are only $45 per seat per year. And our library subscriptions are for medical schools, PA, and NP programs, are $25 per seat per year. By the way, there's a volume discount on the group subscriptions, too, and we have a cap of 15,000. So we have a school, for example, that has 6,000 students, and they only pay $15,000. I highlighted the NP here because we don't have an NP program yet. And if you're affiliated with one or you know of one that would like to do a pilot with us, we're very interested in talking to someone who could use DocCom in their NP curriculum and tell us how it is. And after this, we're going to send out directions on how to set up your account, and hopefully you all will. And you'll also share DocCom with any institutions with which you are affiliated. I can't tell you enough about how impressed I am. And when I look back at what happened with my sister in the ICU, so many of the things that went wrong were related to communication, which is why I was so thrilled when I was asked to submit my resume for the managing editor in this position, because communication to me is at the core of patient-centeredness and a patient relationship and the patient experience. So please feel free to share this, and we can set up I can give somebody a trial subscription if you have an institution, a 30-day trial subscription if you have an institution that is interested in this. And of course, you get this subscription free. So by all means, please sign up, and if you have any questions, you can contact me directly, or any questions now, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank
Rachel?
you, Barbara. Yeah, thank you. If anybody has any questions at this time, feel free to type them there in the chat box. We have a couple of minutes here that we can take to address those. So we'll just give a minute.
Mm-hmm. I see people are typing, so maybe they're questions.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting thank yous. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think you can answer this one, Rachel.
Yeah, so Alice Gettler says, I'm not clear. As an AACH member, I have a free subscription, but if I want to use this with residents during the free trial, does not. So yes, Alice, you as an AACH member have an individual subscription for free. If you're interested in using this with residents, then that would be a purchased subscription, and that subscription price is tiered. And you can visit our website there that I have linked at the top of the screen, and under the subscriptions tab, a resident program would be considered a group subscription, so you can check out the pricing there.
And maybe I should say here too, Rachel, that I did say $45 per seat per year. On a sliding scale at 100, it drops down, but we have never raised the prices in the 12 years that we've been around, and we just decided this summer that it was time that we did. so that those price changes are coming very shortly. They're actually being programmed into the website. So if you're thinking about it, you might want to consider doing that sooner than later. Okay, so we have a question on how do you determine if you need new modules. We generally, what we do is we have not added new modules since probably a couple of years after DocCom launched, which the final ones are probably done in 2006 or 7. But what happens when new information comes along, that we put it into a module. So for example, something that's happened in the last 12 years since we originally started was that now we're all about the computer and using the computer and the golden triangle, shoulder-to-shoulder clinician and the patient, and the triangle is the computer and looking at it and everything. So we put that one, which fit very well, into our module on it's body language, but it's communicating, communicating with patients, nonverbal communication. That's what we're calling it, nonverbal, right? Thank you. So we put that in there. We thought that was a very good area for that to go into. And we look for new places, and people will suggest things that they thought could be a new module, but we've actually got a module that's related. So we put the new material into an existing module. So if you have any suggestions for new material, please let me know, and we'll see if we can incorporate it into an existing module.
Yeah, so those were great questions. Thank you both. And in the interest of time, we'll wrap up here. So thank you, Barbara, for leading such an informative webinar, and thank you, everybody who has joined us. As a reminder, if you would like to access this recording, we'll share this through the AACH website. And you'll be receiving instructions shortly via email on how to access your free DocCom subscription as AACH professional and associate members. So thanks again, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you to everyone.